Welcome back to Brailsford Woodworks. Let me dig through this debris pile here, see if I can find a project to do. Pull out some of these parts from past projects that might be in the way. Think I found something. And here it is. So back in February of 24, I started this thing. It's a large walnut crotch that I had turned into a deep hollowed vase. And I did the rough turning. I had boiled it and I let it sit, and it is down to about 8% moisture content. So I'm going to finish this thing up. The first thing I'm going to do is straighten out the outside a little bit, kind of a uniform shape, before I can finish hollowing the inside. I'm using my Robust Tools Turner's Edge 5/8 inch bowl gouge. As you can see, this piece does have some defects that will require some attention. After smoothing out the outside a little bit, I mixed up some 5-minute epoxy. I realized this defect does have some bark in it. It has a bark inclusion, and I decided I wanted to try to keep it. So not only am I using this epoxy, but I'm also going to use some thin CA glue that will get onto the bark and kind of solidify it and make it so it won't come out. There were other little cracks and ends of pith that were all over this thing that I did end up filling as well. Given that this was a crotch, there are lots of ends of branches all over the place. But I like it because it really adds to the figure of the entire piece. So I had straightened out the main body. Now it's time to straighten out the neck just a little bit. I'm trying to do this vase in the Greek Amphora style. Because of that, the neck needs to be narrowed down some. At this point, I'm contemplating how I want to handle these defects in the neck. At this time, I'm using one of my skews as a scraper to remove the cut lines from the gouge. I've decided how to handle the defects in the neck, and that will be to cut them off. At that point, I will make a new neck and apply it. I'm going to straighten the rim and the neck out, and at that point I will start finishing the hollowing. Before I break out the deep hollowing system, I'm using my Easy Wood Tools gooseneck hollower, and I'm getting in behind the rim. It's a lot easier to do it with this than it is the deep hollowing system. I've got my Clark deep hollowing system now mounted to the lathe, and it's time to finish up the inside. If you use a deep hollowing system enough, you learn that you do have to go gentle and take nice light cuts. So I found I wasn't quite deep enough, so I'm using one of my drill bits to get down to the final depth that I want to be. So it's back to the deep hollower and get down to that final depth. You do have to check wall thicknesses frequently. This shows you what it's really like to use the Clark deep hollowing system. I actually like it very much. I've been very pleased with it. I do want to get the captured tool rest though. I'm checking the inside of the wall, seeing if there's any high spots that I need to remove. I do have a gooseneck cutter head that will mount on my Clark deep hollowing system. And I'm using it now to help take out some of those high spots that I just identified. Now it's time to start working on that neck. I have some hickory that I had cut down myself and milled on my own mill, and I'm going to use it for the new neck. I'm going to make it a segmented ring, and it's going to be a 40 segment ring. It's the first time I've ever done anything with nearly that many segments. The most I've ever done it to this point was 24. I don't know what the heck that thing is. Keep watching, you may find out sometime in the future. So in addition to the hickory segments, I'm also using a black dyed veneer that will go in between each of the segments and between each of the rings. All I can say is gluing up a 40 segment ring takes forever, and adding the veneer made it that much worse. But I'm sticking with it, and I'm going to get through as many as I can. Then it's over to my drum sander and flatten all those rings out. Now we're on to gluing up the stack, and I'm going to add veneer in between each of the stacks as well. I used my Tight Bond 2 on this project. I apologize for not showing you how I glued the neck to the vase, but sorry, now it's time to turn it. So I'm finishing the outside of the neck first, getting it to the shape I want, and at that point I will finish the inside, get it to also to the shape I want, but also to the final thickness. So now it's on to the inside. I'm using a combination of both my traditional gouge and my easy wood tools. Given both the depth of the neck and the shape of the neck, using a traditional gouge to get on the inside where it's back cut is very, very difficult, albeit impossible, and that's why I use the carbide tools. I'm using the gooseneck tool to smooth out the transition between the vase and the neck. It's time to start sanding. Using a power tool is not possible, so it's time to do it by hand. Now I am applying finish to the inside. I'm going to use General Finishes Wood Ball Finish. Now that the inside is finished, it's time to take it off the steady rest. So I have a wedge to go in the neck, and I've padded it so it won't scratch the neck, and now I can remove the steady rest. Time for one last cleanup cut. Here I'm using my Thompson 1/2" bowl gouge. Now it's on to sanding the outside, and I'm using my 6" disc. I'm sanding the neck using my 2" sanding disc. And I will run through all the grits from 60 to 400. Now I'm applying General Finishes Wood Ball Finish to the outside of the vase. I ended up putting 5 coats on the outside. After I finished applying that first coat, I'm using 600 grit wet dry sandpaper to give it a good thorough sanding. It develops a slurry that helps fill all the pores. Before the finish starts to get tacky, I wipe it all down. All 5 coats are on, and now I'm applying some wax. I broke out my power buffer, and it really puts on a nice shine. We're getting down to the finish line. It's time to part it off. I used my parting tool as deep as I dared, and I cut through the rest of it with a saw. What I'm not going to show is that I did sand the bottom and I did apply some more finish down there. I'm very, very happy with the results. I hope you like it. Please join me back again on Braille's for Good Works. Bye-bye.